What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. It's been a long time, but we are finally back here on YouTube. Welcome to the HOTcast. I am Jared, Big Duck Energy on Twitter, with my man Brenson and my man Duran. Today we are here. We're going to talk about the most recent game that Oregon had with Portland State. We're going to be talking about their upcoming game with Texas Tech that I have here pulled up for everybody to see. And then last but not least, we're going to talk about the other top 25 matches going on this weekend. So, first things first, let's get it out of the way. Oregon and Portland State this past Saturday. Oregon wins the game 81-7. Let's get some stats pulled up here real quick. Bo Nix was 23 for 27, 287 yards, 3 touchdowns. Bucky Irving, 4 carries, 119 yards, 2 touchdowns. 56 yards longest. I actually did not realize that he only had 4 carries. That makes sense, but like, damn, that's crazy. Troy Franklin, Gary Bryant Jr. both had 7 receptions. Troy Franklin, 106 yards, 2 touchdowns. Gary Bryant Jr., 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tez Johnson, Terrence Ferguson, a couple other players also got a couple of touches with the ball here. Oregon's defense let up a little bit of, I can't find a stat on here, but they let up a decent amount of the running game. Here we go. 148 total rushing yards. I know that 106 of those rushing yards came from the first quarter. And to finish with only 148 is pretty damn good for Oregon back now. B, how do you feel about this game with Portland State this past weekend, man?
Hold on, I'm tired. I was running some steps.
I'll do mine real quick. While you're catching your breath. I was extremely impressed. I was extremely impressed with what I saw this past weekend. It's been a while. Oregon had a few blowout victories last year, but there wasn't really a game where I felt like I was watching like an Oregon team of the past. What this past weekend, like, and not just because we ran that 2-point conversion that Chip Kelly and Mark Halford loved. Don't get me wrong, that gave me a lot of vibes from that too. But I don't know, man. This just felt different. It felt different. I want to kind of hold my tongue a little bit, bite my tongue some, because I really want to see how they play against Texas Tech this weekend, and we'll get into that in a few minutes here. But it felt different. Like I realize it's Portland State. This is not a team that's going to, upset any Power 5 program. Probably they were not a good team last year. I think they finished like 4-7 or something like that, 3-7. This is not a very good team. But that's not really what's important here. What's important here is that Oregon was supposed to blow them out. I think they were 39.5 point favorites, or maybe like 49.5. They won by 74 points. That's a big deal. That's a really, really big deal. Yeah, they scored 81 points. Do you feel bad for Portland State? Yeah, but that's just football. That's just how it is. That's just how it is. There's nothing really we can do about that. This felt just different. The offense. Again, I want to bite my tongue a little bit, but I just want to say that I felt like the execution was better than it was last year. It felt lethal. It didn't ever feel like there was a moment where we didn't think we were going to get a first down. It felt like when we were going to get it, not if we're going to get it. And if Oregon can continue that pace this season, they're going to be an extremely deadly team on the offensive side of the ball. On the defense, it was a little rough at first, but they adjusted. They got back into the game. I mean, credit to Portland State's quarterback. That dude was slippery. He had 6 carries, 53 yards. He's a slippery dude. So we'll see if I don't want to say anything that's gonna. I don't want to jinx anything. But if we know anything about Tyler Shuck, if Oregon can get that kind of pressure on him, I don't think he's going to be able to run for 53 yards on them. If we know anything from the 2020 season, that was not the best experience ever. But B, my man, what do you think about this past weekend? What do you think about this game with Portland State? I know you got to have a lot to say.
I mean, it was a W. Oregon put up 81 points. on an inferior opponent. They went out and handled business. You got your starters, their reps. You got some young guys in to get their reps to get that experience for the next level. For me, I mean, again, you held the team to 7 points. That's a win in my book.
Absolutely.
Anytime you hold a team under 10 points, man, that's a win. So now, going into this week against Texas Tech, how do you take that up another level? Now your defense has to travel. Now your defense has got to be locked down corners. Now your defense has got to get that pass rush. Now your defense has got to stop the run. And you're going into Lubbock. Lubbock is a weird place. That is where Baker Mayfield first started. If people don't understand, Baker Mayfield was a walk-on at Texas Tech, sat behind Davis Webb, and then Davis Webb got hurt and missed the Oklahoma game, Baker Mayfield's freshman year. And Baker Mayfield went out there and beat Oklahoma. And now, for the life of me, I don't know why Cliff Kingsbury gave Davis Webb the starting position back, but here we are. So Lubbock is one of those places, man. If you go in to handle business, you're fine. But if you go in and you tiptoe around, they will hit you in the mouth, and you will come out of there with an L.
Yep.
So we're gonna see what it looks like. Defense got to travel. Offense has got to, keep the pedal to the metal and handle business.
Yep, I agree. It's all about handling business, and that's what Oregon did this past weekend. They handled business. They did what they were supposed to do. I was seriously impressed by the offense. Will Stein, I know he is a Louisville alumni. If Louisville fires their head coach this year, I'm going to be extremely pissed off. Anyway, Brenson took us right into Texas Tech talk. So Brenson already said his piece about Texas Tech here. You may have a little bit more to say. But yes, Oregon is playing Texas Tech in Lubbock this Saturday at 7 p.m. On ESPN, the matchup predictor currently has Oregon at a 67.4% chance of winning as of Wednesday, as we are filming this. Right now, the line is Oregon at 6.5. Duran, how are you feeling about this game with Oregon and Texas Tech? What's the vibe check here? What is the vibe check?
I kind of like what Brinson said as far as, it is a weird place. They're kind of on top of you. It can get loud in there. So it is a place where, they're going to play hard at Texas Tech. They're going to play hard. You know that. But my vibe is that I think Oregon can get it. I think Oregon wins by like 2 touchdowns. So I would probably take the over on that. But it's just like, to your point of it being something different, just the way that they move. They move fast. I mean, that the offense was moving. Everybody looked a step faster, maybe because it was Portland State. I don't know. But they just looked to be more a little bit more fast, a lot more confident in everything. There's a different swagger about the team that I saw Saturday. And I think if they go in with that swagger where they not only expect to win, but that they're going to show you why they're going to win, I think they'll be fine. So I feel good. The good thing about this going into Texas Tech is that it's a veteran offense, specifically with Bo. Bo's been in a lot of big games, in the SEC, here in the Pac-12, with the UW game. How many times he's played in the Iron Bowl. So he knows what it is to walk into a hostile environment and come out successful, come out both on either side. So obviously he wants to be successful this time. And I think he's going to have the guys ready, and they're just going to follow his lead and play ball.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said there. As a fan, obviously, I am still a little nervous of this game because this is just like the typical trap game for Oregon. Anybody who's been a fan of this team for many years knows that you can just get a gut feeling for what these trap games are. It's either one of the 2 Arizona schools, and thank God we will hopefully never have to play them ever again in either one of their stadiums. I hate playing at Arizona and at Arizona State so much. And I also hate playing at Stanford. They're just 3 really weird places to play. That being said, last year we played at Arizona. I thought that could have been a trap game. We beat the crap out of them. I don't think that Lanning is going to have these guys at a point where they're not going to be prepared for what to expect in Lubbock. Lubbock is a weird place. Brenson already said it. This is a weird place to play college football. There is weird things that happen here all the time. Just last year, Texas lost to Texas Tech in overtime. It was like week 3 or 4 or something like that. And, say what you will about Texas last year, but this is a team that had Alabama on the ropes. And if it wasn't for a very, very questionable personal foul call, that could have swayed the entire game. I mean, that was a game that Texas easily could have won. And we're going to get to that rematch with Texas and Alabama here pretty soon. But right now, I've been saying this to you guys through text. I've been saying this on Twitter. I've been saying this, to my other friends and to my family. On paper, this is a game that Oregon should win by a lot. Like, they should win by a lot. If this game is in Eugene, Oregon wins by 3 or 4 touchdowns. Like, it would be a bloodbath. It's not in Eugene. It's in Lubbock. And not only is it not in Eugene, in Lubbock, you also have Tyler Shuck, who is a former Oregon Duck, as their quarterback. Now, I don't think Tyler's going to be on any revenge tour stuff because the current staff has absolutely nothing to do with his tenure here at Oregon. I always appreciative of kids that played for Oregon. Shuck definitely has a kind of a rocky feeling when you talk about him with Oregon fans. Showed a lot of positives, showed a lot of negatives. He has that deer in headlights look that I was just like, I just don't have faith in this guy. I never really had a lot of faith in him. And I still see that when I saw them. We didn't even mention this. This is a Texas Tech team that just lost to Wyoming, who's not even really that great of a team. And again, Wyoming, that's a weird place to play. That's just kind of those, like, I don't really know if you want to travel and play there. Oregon went to Wyoming back in 2017 and beat them. But this is a Texas Tech team that just lost to Wyoming, and I think that this weekend is going to say a lot about Oregon, and it's going to say a lot about Texas Tech. Is this Texas Tech team mentally strong enough to bounce back from losing a game that they probably should have won by 2 or 3 scores? Is Oregon the team that we think it is, where they were executing on offense? And to add to your point, Duran, the execution, everything just felt pinpoint. Everything just felt. It looks like they knew like the weak spots. Like it was like a kung fu movie. Like hit you on your nerves. Just shut your whole arm down. That's what Oregon looked like on Saturday on the offense. And if Oregon can keep that up, Texas Tech is going to be without their starting middle linebacker. I don't remember his name, but he's outed for the game. He's out. This is a team that's defense. Probably isn't going to be one of the better ones Oregon plays. There's going to be a lot of points scored. So it's just about the execution on the offense. It's about the execution on defense. I think there's a very good chance that we see a lot of players have a lot more reps than we did on Saturday. I think Lanning knew going into that game with Portland State that there was going to be a lot of opportunities to have your freshmen and sophomores play over some of the more experienced guys so you can get them that game day experience if they're ever needed. So, we know Evan Williams, Justin Jacobs, those guys didn't play. That's just two guys who were pretty. There isn't an official depth chart, but Justin Jacobs was projected to be one of the starters for the linebacker core, and Evan Williams was predicted to be one of the starters for the safeties. So I think there's going to be a different looking Ducks team this weekend, and I've already actually bet on Oregon having the over. I think 6.5 is easy money. Again, I think this is a game that Oregon should win by 2 or 3 touchdowns. Will they win by 2 or 3 touchdowns? I don't know. Maybe 10 points at the worst. But I'm hoping Oregon goes in. They don't mess around. They go in, take care of business, get out, get ready for Hawaii, and then get ready for conference play.
Yep.
Brenson, you got any more thoughts about Texas Tech game this weekend?
Yeah, beat them.
My man.
Period.
My man. Brenson, of course, being from Texas, this game is going to mean a lot to him. Or being in Texas, I should say. And shout out to everybody who was going to the game, by the way. I definitely wanted to go, just didn't end up working out schedule-wise. But shout out to everybody who's going to the game. I think we'll get to I don't really have like a score prediction. Ducks win. That's my prediction.
That's it, man. Just get a W.
Ducks win. All right.
It could be ugly or pretty for me.
Yeah, just it doesn't even have to be pretty. Just get in there, get out with a win. Just get in, get out with a win. All right, so we got 5 minutes here, real quick. Let's do this. Let's get through this top 25 matchups. All right, we're gonna run through these, and then last but not least, we'll talk about Alabama and Texas. All right, number 1 Georgia faces Ball State. Guys, how are we feeling? Who's gonna win that game?
Blowout, Georgia.
All right.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't even think anything needs to be said there. All 3 of us are going Georgia on that one. Youngstown State and number 5 Ohio State.
Ohio State.
Then trestle on back to Youngstown. Just again. You know what I mean? Go ahead.
Yep.
Ohio State.
Ohio State. All 3 Ohio State. And then at 12 p.m. we have 7th-ranked Penn State and Delaware.
Penn State.
Penn State.
Do we even have to say that?
Penn State. Yeah, they used. Okay, here we go. All right, we're gonna get into some more interesting games now. I promise, everybody. At noon, we also have Notre Dame and NC State.
That one's gonna be sneaky good.
I'm gonna say NC State. I'm gonna call the upset. I'm
Calling an upset. We got an upset. All
Call
right.
an upset alert because it's in Raleigh, and so I'm calling upset alert.
That's the same thing I'm saying. Because last time Notre Dame went there, they lost, I think.
Yep.
And that was back like right after what's his name went pro, Rivers.
Yep.
I'm gonna say Notre Dame, but I think North Carolina State could definitely. I could see them winning. I'm gonna go with Notre Dame on this one though. I feel pretty good about how they're going as a program right now with the guys.
Hartman's clutch for them.
Also at noon, 12 Utah at Baylor.
Utah.
I'm gonna say Utah. Run game usually travels.
Utah, and I think Utah definitely covers the spread. They are at an 8-point favorite. I think they cover the spread. I think that's going to be a bloodbath.
Baylor doesn't have a starting quarterback.
Yeah, that's going to be a bloodbath in Waco. We got 15th ranked Kansas State and Troy.
K-State.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Tez Johnson. Kansas State. Yeah, all 3 Kansas State. And here we go. Here's probably one of the biggest ones of the weekend. We have Colorado and Nebraska.
Colorado.
We coming. Travis Hunter.
Travis
Hunter Heisman tour right now.
I'm going with Colorado. I don't know how good Colorado actually is. I've been very vocal in saying I don't think TCU is that good. That being said, I don't think Nebraska is very good either, and I think Colorado covers that 3-point spread easily. I got the Buffs winning big.
Yep.
Yeah.
Clemson and Charleston Southern.
Clemson by 75.
Shout out to my boy Jacques Kidell, play for Charleston Southern, but yeah,
Clemson finna put up 75. They got so much anger built up in them from that Duke game.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Clemson. I'm gonna go Clemson on that one. UNLV and Michigan. Michigan. Wolverines, easy. All right, here's a little bit more of a tricky one. Ole Miss and Tulane.
Ole Miss.
At Tulane.
Give me Ole Miss.
You know what? I'm gonna go with Tulane. Tulane's not scared of they're not scared of Giants. I think they might come out with this one.
I'm riding with the green wave. I'm going Tulane. I'm going Tulane on this one.
I think Lane might.
Green wave. Shout out to USC. Texas A&M at Miami.
A&M.
I'm gonna say Miami. I was kind of impressed with how the offense and the defense rolled again, even though it was Miami of Ohio. I was kind of impressed. It's in Miami. I'm gonna say Miami.
I was impressed by Miami too, but I do think that A&M's depth is going to give them the advantage in this one. It's pretty much a neutral site game. Hard Rock Stadium might have like 10% capacity. I'm gonna go with the Aggies on this one. Did you see they were giving out free tickets to the Georgia Tech game if you buy tickets for this game?
It was a buy one get one free.
That's insane. Yeah. Washington and Tulsa.
UW.
Washington.
I mean, it's Dubs down, but I'm not an idiot. It's Washington. Austin, PA, and Tennessee. I know I totally butchered the. It's Tennessee. We're going with Tennessee on that one.
Yeah, it's easy.
Let's do. All right, we got less than a minute here. Let's run through some of these really quick. Appalachian State, North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Carolina. Got it. SMU and Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
SMU.
I will go with Oklahoma, but I like the SMU pick. Lafayette and Duke. Duke. All right. Oregon, Texas Tech. We all got Oregon in that one. Grambling and LSU.
LSU.
Okay.
Yeah.
Washington State, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
I'm saying Washington State because it's in
Yeah, I
Washington
think
State.
honestly, I think Washington State might get that.
I'm gonna go Washington State too. I'm gonna go with the upset. Florida State, Southern Miss, Duran,
Florida State,
our Noel here. UC Davis, Oregon State.
Oregon State,
I'll go Oregon State too. Stanford, USC.
SC.
SC.
I'm gonna go Stanford. All right, and last but not least, with our college football picks, we have the game of the weekend. Probably the biggest game up to this point. No offense, Duran. If FSU LSU wasn't as big of an ass whooping, I would have said that was the biggest game of the weekend. Knowles are winning the ACC.
I take no offensive W's. We're good.
Florida State's winning the ACC, by the way, might make the playoffs. We have number 11 Texas going to Tuscaloosa to play the number 3 Alabama Crimson Tide. So, fellas, we were talking about this earlier last year. Texas hosted Alabama. It was a close, hard-fought game, but the Tide ended up coming out of that game the victor. There was that questionable call in the end zone with the roughing the passer. Texas still had a very good chance to win the game, but Bryce Young is inevitable, and he willed Alabama to a win. So, surprisingly, ESPN currently has Alabama at an 80.9% chance to win. Alabama is a 7-point favorite. I am shocked at 80.9%. I'm gonna wait.
You get 3 points for being home, so it's really like a 4-point.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait on who I think is gonna win, but whoever would like to go first, give me your breakdown. Who do you think is gonna win this game? Why do you think they're gonna win this game?
You want to go first, Ron?
I'll take it. It's as simple as, for me, I think it's Texas. And you touched on the difference maker last year, who's not there anymore. And his name was Bryce Young. Yep. And we don't know what these quarterbacks can do. Neither one of these quarterbacks has been put in the pressure cooker with Alabama. They're going to have to go, according to Nick Saban, unless he's pulling people's chain, it's going to be more of that old school type of offense that he was used to having. The one thing that saves teams this year that I think is going to be big and could make its, an appearance is the new clock rule. So if they are running the ball, are they shortening the game a lot more than normal than we're used to seeing the game shortened? And that could help them. But I think just having Quinn Ewers, as much as, he's been, criticized or scrutinized, whatever you want to say, I think having him in this game, because if he doesn't go out of the game last year, they might still win with or without Bryce Young.
I forgot about that.
So I think him being in the game, I think they're having something to prove. I'm taking Texas by 3.
Texas by 3. All right, Brenson, how you feeling, man?
That boy Quinn Ewers better play for 4 quarters. You struggled against Rice. You finna go into Tuscaloosa. You ain't got no time to struggle, dog. You came out hot last year because you was at home and y'all tried to be quick with the tempo. This year, forget the tempo. You need to be in the pocket and hitting your passes. And not no little dink screens to Xavier Worthy think you finna spring somebody. You finna have to hit these fools short, intermediate, and deep routes. You ain't got Bijan Robinson no more. You don't have no lead back. You got a stable of backs because you got all these 4 and 5 star running backs under Tashard Choice. But you finna have to find somebody that's gonna be able to tote that rock for you and get you a first down because you finna play Bama for 4 quarters in Bama. And they finna hit you in the mouth. They're not finna throw the ball no more like they did with Bryce. Their quarterback not throwing the ball 30 and 40 times a game. Their quarterback might throw the ball 25 times a game. And he might take off on your foot, get 10, and get you maybe 100 yards rushing. So we're gonna see what Texas got. Texas defense for sure got to replace a lot of players they lost. They got a lot of youth. They got a lot of these young elite athletes that they recruited in the last few years, these last couple cycles. They finna have to shut the fuck up because it's put up a shut up time now. They've been talking about all gas, no brakes for 3 years, fam. Ain't y'all done got somewhere with all this gas, no brakes? Didn't they just barely beat UW in the Alamo Bowl?
No, they lost.
Exactly.
They got killed.
You got all that gas, no brakes, and you lost to UW.
They got a Heisman Trophy candidate, though. So
Penix, fam. Honestly, if you stop them from throwing the deep ball and make them nickel and dime it, You
But
might
I'm just
actually have a
saying.
shot.
I don't
It
disagree
ain't
with
like they
that.
lost.
I don't
I'm just
disagree
saying they
with
haven't
that.
lost. They didn't lose to a scrub. I'm not trying to get off topic here, but
I don't know, but I mean, but you better have the right game plan because you finna face a totally different team. This is not the Bama team from last year. They back to the old days of Saban back in 2010, 2011. Running back can hit you between the tackle. So we're gonna see what Texas got. I honestly, I watched Quinn Ewers play football for the last 5 years. His last 2 years of high school, and those 2 games against Duncanville, the kids got the arm talent, but that head, I don't know if he got the mentals. And we gonna see. This is that put up a shutout time because if he don't produce this time against Bama, and they lose, he might be having to look over his shoulder because ours might be creeping up sooner than you think.
Yep. So who you got? Alabama?
Yep, I got Bama, and
You
I
got
got them by
Bama.
2 touchdowns.
Damn. Comes
by
down to
14.
me. Damn.
14.
14.
I'm taking them by 14. Fam, you do remember Bama beat them by 1 last year.
I know. I just said by 14. That's what I'm saying. That's why they beat them by 1. That's what I'm saying. 14.
And if you think about it, Bama should have lost that game, but Bama like, nah, we not finna put ourselves in that situation this year.
I got you. I'm with you.
So we gonna see for sure. But I'm going with Bama.
Oh, damn. So you're making me do the tiebreaker here. All right. So
Yep.
so who do I think is gonna win? You know, for a while, you know, I have a very dear friend who is an Alabama fan. I have a few friends that are Alabama friends actually, and Alabama fans, not friends. And they, both of them, were very, very concerned about this year because they just don't really know what to expect. This is kind of an anomaly of an Alabama team. This reminds me a lot of the Alabama team of the first year of the college football playoff. You know, they were a good team, but there wasn't anything that set them over the edge to make them like the Alabama team. That's why Ohio State beat them in the Sugar Bowl. It was Sugar, right? It wasn't a cop. It was Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, it was Sugar Bowl.
It was Sugar Bowl. Yeah. Ezekiel Elliott ran all over them. Great guy. Definitely didn't run over anybody else after that game. That I don't know. That nothing happened. Nothing happened after that game.
I'm not going there with you, Jared.
Yeah, nothing happened after that game. So this is just, it's kind of like that Bama team, you know? After that year, Alabama started to get elite quarterback prospects. I'm struggling to remember who their quarterback... well, it was around the time they got Tua. Ever since they've had Tua, they've had Heisman candidate quarterbacks almost every single year since then. So this is unknown territory for Alabama. It's very similar to like with Ohio State right now. You know, it's kind of unknown territory. You don't have a sure thing at quarterback anymore. You have what's his name? Jalen Monroe or Milroe? Yeah, Jalen Milroe. Because Jalen Milroe, wasn't he a running back converted to quarterback?
No, he's a quarterback.
No,
He's a quarterback. Okay, I think I'm getting.
They were trying to convert him to running back because he's freaking huge. The kid's huge. Like he's like Jalen Hurts.
It looked like Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I almost had that right. He put up good numbers. 13 for 18, 194, 3 touchdowns. Not bad. They did beat Texas at home last year. Bama had Bryce Young last year. This is a very, very different Alabama squad. And it's in Tuscaloosa, which, could you even tell me the last time Bama lost in Tuscaloosa?
Johnny Football?
Might be.
I mean...
Wait.
That's a long time ago.
Bo Nix freshman year, was it Iron Bowl in Bama or was it in Auburn?
I was in Auburn.
Okay.
That was in Auburn. Looks like we lost Duran. He'll hop back in here in a second. But yeah, so there's a lot of things going on here. You know, there's a lot of things you can take into account. You can take into account last year's game. You can take into account the last time Bama even lost a home game. But let's just get down to the nitty-gritty of it all. Texas and Alabama, these two current teams. If you ask me, whoever I say now, whoever I'm about to pick, it's probably going to change tomorrow. And then it'll change on Friday. And then it'll change at noon on Friday or Saturday. And then it'll change at 3 on Saturday. And then right before the game starts Saturday, it's going to change again. But as of right now, just looking at these two teams, I'm going to have to go with Alabama at the moment. I'm going to have to go with Alabama. I think it's just too much. It's going to be just too much for Texas. I think that they can win this game. Absolutely they can win this game. And if you ask me, if Steve Sarkisian doesn't win this game, Texas fans are going to start getting really, really, really impatient with him. I mean, it's hard to believe it, but I mean, isn't this his second or third year?
Third year, all gas, no brakes for 3 years. You should have gotten somewhere by now. You just lost to UW in the Alamo Bowl.
Yeah, I mean,
done?
That loss to Alabama last year, I think, really broke that team mentally, and they lost a lot of games that they should have won. And then they lose to Washington, who, I mean, hey, great team. They were a great team last year. They're a great team this year. But Texas, as a program, should not be losing that game to Washington. They should not be losing that game. As a national brand that Texas is, they should not be losing that game. So there's a lot going on here. There's a lot on the line. I think this game is going to say a lot for these two programs, just like the national championship game that they had all those years ago had so much implication to both of these teams' trajectories. Texas has never been the same since that game, ever since Colt McCoy got hurt. Alabama has been a dynasty ever since Colt McCoy got hurt. There's so much going on here. But as of right now, I think Alabama is just the sure thing. Nick Saban, he's Thanos. He's inevitable. I'm going with Alabama just because it's just the safe pick. It's just the safe pick right now. I think Texas's offense is better than Alabama's, but Alabama's defense is far superior to Texas's defense. And it's just going to be a hard-nosed game. It's going to be a hard-nosed ground-pound game. This new clock rule is going to really change how things pan out. So I'm going to go with Texas. Or I'm sorry, Bama. I'm going with Alabama. And Brenson has already started smoking that Texas Tech pack.
You damn right.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. We lost Duran, but he's also very appreciative of everybody for watching. We're going to get back into the swing of this. We apologize for any technical difficulties we had, but we're still making this work. He's back. He's back.
3D Strength Academy in the building, ladies and gents.
I picked Alabama.
And my man. My bad, technical difficulties.
No, you're good. I already said, we're working all the kinks out here. I picked Alabama. Just that that's just the safe pick. I probably will change my mind in the next 2 days. This is such a coin flip to me. I will tell you this though.
Scared money don't make no money.
Alabama at 7. Nice. I think that could. I wouldn't take the over. This is going to be close. This is going to be a very close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means. I think it's going to be close. It's going to be a 1 or 2 score game, and 10 points at the most. And 89% chance for Bama to win. I would say more like a 65 to 70.
I think right. I think that 80.9. They're basing that off of the history. We talked about when the last time somebody's going in there to win. I think they're basing that off the history on how hard it is to win it. But if there is any team that can do it, I think it's Texas. They usually travel well. They probably bought out all of their allotted seats.
You hear they did Texas the way that Texas did Bama last year?
Oh, yeah, the band.
They in the top corner. Yeah. Every school
I think they said fans too. I think the fans too.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah. I remember IU did it to Ohio State back in the day.
Here you go. Here's a quick question for y'all right before we sign off here. Not Colorado's not allowed to be your answer. What team surprised you the most this weekend? As in, I'm disappointed in them, or I'm surprised. Like I was very surprised how good they played. What team surprised you guys the most this weekend?
Oh, I think the game that surprised me. I'm gonna go with the game, then I'm gonna say maybe the most disappointing team. Because I got 2 answers to this. The way the Florida State LSU game went, obviously it was in my favor. I think the way that game went surprised me. It was a lot of things that surprised me about that game. The drop passes from all of those really good receivers from LSU, that was surprising. I think the biggest surprise out of that game, and Brenson's going to be, oh, I told you about Brian Kelly. But the biggest surprise to me is how they utilize Harold Perkins. That might be the blunder of the year. I don't care what anybody says. That might be the blunder of the year. That man was a pass rushing phenom. He was like the college equivalent of Micah Parsons last year.
Mm-hmm.
And you had the dude playing in space like he was Devin White.
I think what they tried to do was they tried to spy Jordan Travis with him, which I think was a terrible mistake.
It was horrible.
Terrible mistake.
Because you take him out of being aggressive. You just made him null and void. Because if he's spying him, he's not really blitzing. He doesn't know when to blitz because he wants to care for him not coming out the pocket. And you just made him null and void. It was horrible. But the most disappointing team by far has to be Clemson. With that performance that they put on.
Yeah.
7 points, I think. I don't know how from a it just shows everything that he's been preaching, and maybe he is a true believer in everything he has said. But he's willing to go down with the Flames, and I commend him if he's holding to his principles. But I think this goes a lot back, and we ain't got to go through all those different things that happened through COVID and what he said. How he felt about the different movements there, and the coach being allowed to still be on the staff after the use of the N-word, and not going into the portal and name, image, and likeness. Like, there's so many things, and I think it's all coming to a head right now.
Yeah,
and it's starting to show.
Yeah,
you can't get the recruits. The coordinators have gone. His last, Tony Elliott and Brent Venables leaving kind of killed it. And I don't think he's found a way to recover yet. So it's either he changes, like Saban had to change in order to keep things going. Saban had to make some contingencies and some changes, or this might be the Clemson anew. Sorry for the long answer.
No, you're good. No. I will say Florida State is the team that surprised me the most because I picked them to win that game, but I was just seriously impressed by their execution and just the tenacity that they played with. I mean, they were playing. I mean, Jordan Travis, he was very, very shaky in the beginning of that game, but Florida State stayed in it. They stayed in it. They buckled down, and they whipped LSU's ass in the second half.
Yeah.
They beat their ass in the second half. LSU, the SEC team, and I like LSU too. I do. I pull for LSU. I like LSU. I like Florida State too. Dad and uncle are massive Noles fans, so I'm pulling for them as well. So I was cool with whoever won this game. But, for all the hype we hear about these SEC teams, LSU got completely outplayed. I mean, Florida State was much more physical than they were. I mean, Jaden Daniels is going to be – he's probably still seeing Florida State's defensive line in his nightmares.
Yeah.
LSU is my most disappointing team because I thought that Clemson wasn't going to be that good this year. I thought people saying that they were going to make the playoffs – I thought they were absolutely out of their mind. No matter how you feel about DJ Uiagalelei, you can't tell me that he was the biggest problem with Clemson. That offense had the flair of a saltine cracker. Nobody can make that offense look good. That offense was as zesty as white rice. It's boring to watch. There is nothing happening. There's no seasoning. There's nothing. It is such a boring offense to watch. And I didn't think that Clemson was going to be that good this year. I think Clemson could lose 3 or 4 games this year. And if Dabo doesn't get out of this weird thing he's in where he's just, overdoing the whole, like, we play in God's name, image, and likeness. And, if that's how he is, and that's fine. But you need to cool it down, dude. Like, it's just football. Like, if not bringing in these guys in the transfer portal, look at what Norvell has done with the transfer portal. I mean, Florida State isn't where they're at unless he brings in all these guys from the transfer portal.
At all.
And Florida State looks like a top 5 team in the country now. And I think they're going to cakewalk the ACC. I think North Carolina will give them maybe a little bit of a challenge. Miami, that's a rivalry game. They absolutely murdered Miami in Hard Rock Stadium last year. They got to play in Doak this year. I think Miami will be a better team this year, but they're not going to take a big enough step in the right direction to be ready for what Florida State's going to do to them.
I hope
so. My most disappointing
recruit.
Was that, Bretson?
If Florida State finding a traction recruiting, like I told Ron, they was going to.
Bro, they will. I think they will get a top 5 class this year. To be completely honest, I do.
Pump the brakes on the recruiting. Maybe I still got Travis Hunter PTSD or something, but it always feels like we have a good summer, and then we get to close to signing day, and guys start to fall off.
Yeah, I mean, it has been how it has been for Florida State. I think now though they're building the track record to keep that team because they beat my most disappointing team from this weekend, LSU.
Yeah. They probably would be fine if Clemson didn't only score 7 points.
Yeah. And again, I just don't think I didn't think Clemson was going to be that good. So that's why I was like, I'm right. I'm still surprised by how bad they looked. I'm still right though. I didn't think they were going to be that good.
Yeah.
But LSU, man, like,
I'm just loving it. Brian Kelly. He is loving this right now.
Like, I wanted to give Brian Kelly a chance. He beats Alabama last year. After Alabama and Nick Saban have whipped his ass in every major bowl game, he has almost every major bowl game he's been in. He finally beats Alabama and Nick Saban. Sure, they lose to Georgia in the SEC championship game. Everybody lost to Georgia last year. Quite literally, everybody lost to Georgia last year because they were undefeated. We don't need to talk about that first game of the season. That first game never happened. That was just a really bad nightmare I had. I don't hold that against anybody. Losing to Georgia, that's whatever. They beat Purdue in a bowl game. Purdue was like an 8-4 team. They're okay. They absolutely murdered them. Exactly. They absolutely killed them, right? So there's some hype going into this season, you know? There's some hype going into this season. Hey, LSU might be taking a step up on the pedestal, you know? We don't really know how good Georgia's going to be now, you know? Whether everybody wants to dunk on him or not, Stetson Bennett was a damn good quarterback at Georgia. He got the job done. Yeah, he looks like he would help you with your computer at the Geek Squad at Best Buy. He got the job done. That's what matters. They lost a ton of players. Now, pretty much everybody who started from that national championship squad is gone. So there's a little bit of uncertainty with Georgia. We talked about it. There's uncertainty with Alabama. We don't know what's going to happen with Alabama this year. This game against Texas is probably going to define their whole season. So this is LSU's moment to not only stake their claim in the college football landscape, but to take the next step into just being the team in the SEC. And then they did that against Florida State. There's one thing if you lose to a team that's better than you. It's another thing when you're losing to a team that is better than you and you give up. Because that's what LSU did. They gave up. That team in the fourth quarter mentally checked out. Completely mentally checked out. And I think Brian Kelly gave up. He looked like he just...
This was over.
I mean, he goes onto the pedestal after the game and says, I certainly don't think... I didn't think that we had the team that I thought we had. Is it the team or is it you, Brian? Is it the team or is it you?
Yep.
Because everywhere you go, well, I don't want to say everywhere you go, every big game you've been in, you've lost. You beat Clemson in the COVID season, right? And everybody, all the Notre Dame fans rush the field, break all the COVID policies, COVID everywhere, right? They go to the playoffs. Nick Saban just dog walks them. Like, on a leash, walking them in the park, go play with your friends, princess, your little dog friends. Got totally dog walked, right? Mm-hmm. Beats Alabama. Only after losing to Florida State last year and then losing to Georgia, which I won't hold that too hard against them, but they lost again. They didn't win the big game. They beat Purdue. Big whoop. A lot of teams probably could have beat Purdue last year, especially a team that was a top 10 team like LSU did. And then this year, they already start the year by losing to Florida State in an embarrassing fashion. A totally embarrassing fashion. And now you don't even get the rematch. I thought losing the game last year because of the blocked extra point was bad. And then that happened. I would rather have lost by the blocked extra point.
Yeah.
I mean, they were a team that was totally mentally checked out. And LSU could end up having a great season and making me look like an idiot. And I hope they do, because I like LSU. I don't like Brian Kelly, but I like LSU. But fix the offensive line. The offensive line was getting just killed by Florida State last night. And to their credit, Florida State has a fantastic defensive line. They have a great defensive line. Stop doing whatever you're doing with Harold Perkins. Stop making him a jack of all trades. Put him in the position that he needs to be in. And stop blaming your players. Stop blaming the players on everything. Look at yourself in the mirror, Brian, who's totally watching this. Look at yourself in the mirror. You always lose these games because you have this weird mentality of, like, we have to be super aggressive. We have to go for it on fourth down. Like, we have to do this. We have to do that. Those 6 points could have made all the difference in the world if they had just not gone for it on some of those occasions. Like, the first drive of the game, Florida State stops them. They give up 2 huge plays, first and goal. Florida State completely stops them. Just a total gut punch of momentum. Take the 3 points. Take the 3 points. That could have changed everything if he took the 3 points. Again, I'm getting Mark Helfrich at Michigan State vibes. Just take the 3 points, Mark. Just take the 3 points. We lost the game by a touchdown because you wouldn't take the 3 points. You went for it on fourth down 3 times in the red zone. I didn't mean to go on this big of a tirade with LSU, but
with a
I'm just
quarterback
disappointed.
with a broken hand.
Yeah, that game pisses me off the more I think about it. We totally should have won that game. But yeah, LSU, man. I was just so disappointed in LSU.
Yeah.
Like, you can lose that game, that's fine. Florida State's a fantastic team. You can't lose it that way, though. You can't lose it that way.
Yeah, it was over once the pick happened.
Yeah,
because we kept texting. Remember, I said, "I'm not jinxing it. Don't talk to me about Brian Kelly. Don't talk to me about nothing until all the."
I knew it was over. I knew it was over.
I was nervous. I was so scared. I ain't gonna lie.
I knew it was over. Like they were mentally checked out. By the time the fourth quarter hit, they were over. It was over. They gave up.
Yeah.
People gotta understand is most of those players at LSU was recruited and been at that school before Brian Kelly got there.
But that's why he took the job, right? Because talking about blaming players, half the reason he took the job was because he could get he could recruit the SEC. He didn't have the same academic stipulations, kind of handcuffing them in order to get those same athletes. Wasn't that a part of his whole spiel? Didn't that kind of come out of his mouth?
Yeah.
Fam, everybody been saying that, and I said, fam, you were at Notre Dame and you was competing with these dudes. It was sometimes some of your game planning and your play calling is what did you in. Now, you at LSU, you can't say nothing. Now you want to throw the team under the bus. Bro, they finna say fuck you in a minute.
Exactly. That's not going to fly. That's just not going to fly.
Dog, LSU is known for having these first round or these elite corners. Them dudes look like regular ass DBs against Florida State.
Hold on, bro. I mean, they did, but that's not saying against Florida State. Let's give that man his flowers. Keon Coleman.
Keon Coleman's a dog.
Let's give that man his flowers.
That man's a dog.
Johnny had some catches too, though.
Huh? He had some drops.
Johnny had some catches too. And some drops. And then Bell got the ball in different ways. So that's what I'm saying. Bam. At the end of the day, LSU supposed to have some dogs in the secondary. They had motherfucking puppies.
You're not wrong.
When's the last time you see LSU secondary look basic than the motherfucker?
That cooked. It's been a while.
They don't have a big corner like they usually do. You got to think they've had the Patrick Petersons, they've had the Claibornes, they had Derek Stingley's. they don't have that big corner who can even compete with it. Try to compete with it, Keon was a basketball player. He was posting up. That was alley-oop dunks.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you, bro. But this is my thing. You're LSU. How do you not? You've been getting them dudes since you've been getting them dudes.
Hey, we come
the one corner that I think the one corner they would have liked to have had would be Dalen Austin. He got playing for the Ducks. So I mean, again.
By the way, that's one of my freshmen to watch this year. I think Dalen Austin is going to be an NFL guy. That he's a dude.
Every time I see Dalen, dog, I think he older than what he looked.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm like, bro, is this dude 21, 22? No, he's 18. What?
But look at that. Look at what you just said, though. Why don't they have him? You got Georgia. You got a former Georgia DC who's now the head coach at Oregon. And truth be told, Oregon's been putting out some good defensive backs into the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a development thing going there. As much as we don't, talk about the team in Southern California, they do have a guy who can recruit. Whether he can coach or not, we don't know. There's still, the jury's still out on that. But he can recruit the defensive back set, the secondary.
Yeah.
I say it like what it is. There's this guy in Boulder, Colorado, who's coming.
Oh yeah.
Who has a lot.
Well, first of all,
of connections in that Louisiana, Texas area after living there. His kids growing up there. He has a lot of connections in that area. And Florida State, baby. We all know that.
my thing with Deion is, fam, he's one of the greatest DBs to ever play the game. So that's why when people was mad about Travis Hunter, fam, he going to play for the dude that played both ways and is one of the greatest DBs ever. Yeah. How can you be mad at that?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Because people care about their team more so than understanding what the kid's going through.
Of course.
Like I was disappointed. I was hurt as a Florida State fan, but I wasn't mad at the kid. I understand it.
Now, Deion got to that D1 level, and he's at a school like Colorado. First of all, fam, Colorado ain't been Colorado since we beat him in the Fiesta Bowl in 2002. 2000.
That team should have been in the national championship. Would have lost, but we should have been in the national championship.
And what's crazier? What's crazier is after that, Colorado had some couple of decent seasons when they had my man's as the head coach that came from Boise State that brought his son. They had a couple decent seasons there with him, but other than that, fam. So when you get somebody like Deion, he's no matter where Deion goes, he was gonna bring that notoriety.
Right, but the thing is, that's why Kelly got to be something different. That's why he's trying to speak Creole. He can't. When he's introduced, in order to try to get those recruits. I'm not saying he can. I'm just saying that's what he's trying to do.
Well, you mean he can't recruit kids with that thick Southern accent he adopted?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I coach at LSU.
Yeah, so we're going
football.
But outside of that,
Sark and Brian Kelly will not be coaching at their schools right now by the end of the season.
I think it's possible. I think LSU fans are going to be very impatient with Brian Kelly, especially when Brian Kelly's supposed to be a guy that's supposed to be like a plug-and-win head coach. I mean, the thing with Brian Kelly is this. He doesn't have the results in the big games, but if you want 8 and 9 and 10 win seasons, you'll get it from him. You'll get it. He has it. But he is never going to get that big game.
But people also got to understand that he was doing this on Notre Dame's schedule.
Exactly.
Notre Dame had
pick
big
and choose
games.
Schedule.
Notre Dame had big games, but they also had those other games where he was supposed to dominate. You're supposed to dominate Syracuse. You're supposed to dominate Navy. You're supposed to dominate Army Air Force. You're supposed to dominate Duke. And you lost to them. You lost to Duke sometimes. You lost to Navy sometimes.
I agree with that.
Hell, I saw Florida State beat them in person in 2014.
Like, you had games that you should have won that you lost.
It was sick.
Like, fam. So, again, you doing this at Notre Dame, so why do people think you're going to do something different at LSU?
I wanted to give him a chance, man, but I'm seriously disappointed.
Made it to 2 national championships, or 1. I can't remember, 1 or 2.
1.
One
made to 1.
One national championship.
Oregon should have been there.
I think it's safe to say that the LSU talent probably exceeded the Notre Dame talent. So you think it's it's just a natural. You just think it's going to be a natural progression. I mean, I don't think people are wrong to think that. it's a lazy take, but I don't think people are wrong to think that it should be a natural progression.
Yeah.
And just because it's a damn Hemi outside, don't mean that this motherfucker can drive it.
I'm just saying, if Saban leaves and Kirby walks into, or Dabo walks into Bama, do we think it's going? You know what I mean? You think it's going to keep moving?
Dabo gonna have a whole lot of issues. He gonna have a whole, because I know Saban ain't running no squeaky clean program. Saban ain't running no squeaky clean program.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everybody, we're running out of time here, so thank you guys so much for tuning in. We're going to keep this thing rolling. We'll be right back next week. Go Ducks as always. Beat Texas Tech this weekend. We all feel good about it. Hopefully, we'll see where this Duck team goes. It feels good this year. I'm feeling good this year, and I hope we get a good result at this Texas Tech game. Be great to at least make the playoffs just to show that we can do it. But hey, it's a pleasure, gentlemen. I love everybody's takes. It's always a pleasure. Everybody, thank you guys for watching. Y'all take it easy. See ya. Go Ducks.
Go Noles.